Well, hello everybody, and welcome to our 3 o'clock webinar. Today we have Nick Mattingly from Switcher Studio on behalf of the Institute for the Study of Free Enterprise and the Von Allman Center for Entrepreneurship out of the Gatton School of Business and Economics. Please welcome Nick. Nick, why don't you go right ahead?
Yeah. So I'm Nick, founder CEO at Switcher. Switcher is a video creation platform. It's a way of making video and you edit while you shoot using your iPhone or iPad. So think of Switcher as the input for how video gets made. If that's on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, all of these platforms have kind of an easy button built in. It's never going to be easier than like hitting that button on Instagram to make a video, but for the most part, it's point and shoot. Like whatever your phone is looking at is what you get. And so with Switcher, the idea is you can use that same hardware, but you could put your logo on screen, or you could switch from the camera to a photo or a video, or you could bring an animated title or graphic. You could show your name or a call to action. And if you wanted another angle or perspective, you can open the app on another iPhone or iPad. So you can have up to 9 cameras over the same internet connection, and you can even share links to bring in a guest that is distributed or off-site. So, you know, kind of like we're doing here with Zoom, you can bring those conversations into Switcher to produce those. And what we see typically with video is this big spectrum of just like, check the box, we're gonna make something on Instagram so we can say that we did, or we're gonna pay somebody else to do it for us. We're gonna work with an agency or a freelancer or someone that just lives and breathes video. And what we're really banking on and what we believe is that more businesses and organizations will take ownership over how video gets made, and that they will start making more video regularly using the team and resources that they already have. And so where you might typically shoot video and then copy it to your computer and spend hours and hours editing and moving it around and getting it just right, and then watching it render and then uploading it before it ever gets published, we can remove a lot of that downtime. With Switcher, you edit while you shoot. So as things are unfolding, you're capturing life in the moment. And as soon as you're done, it's immediately available so that you can make like quick tweaks and edits using other software and programs, or you could actually stream that live on social channels. So we were a launch partner with Facebook Live in 2016 when they first introduced video. We were the only mobile solution that they officially endorsed. If you're making video with your phone, they want you using the Facebook app. But we were a little bit special in doing things differently. And then last year, we were a launch partner with Microsoft as part of Office 365, where they introduced live video. It's a platform called Microsoft Stream. And we were also a launch partner for LinkedIn Live, which is currently in beta. There's just a few thousand people in the world that have access to LinkedIn, and we're the #1 source for how that video is being made today. So we started in 2014, went 2 years bootstrapped and self-funded, restructured the company where we could do some institutional capital, and have continued to be very capital efficient and grow the company to work with big brands like Cisco and NASCAR and SAP, Golf Channel. And then we've got just normal people that are using this to do video of youth sports or puppet shows. And like, I mean, it is just all across the board. We didn't put this thing in a box. So it's been really cool to see what different people come up with. And we're really excited about changing the way how people think about how video gets made. So can you all tell me a little bit about this class? And I know it's through the Gatton School and entrepreneurship, but what are some of the themes that you all have talked about so far this semester? And what are some of the things that you are looking forward to through the end of the year?
So one of the classes that's in here is called MGT 492, and it's Entrepreneurship and New Ventures. And they had to come up with their own ideas for companies. And throughout the semester, they've been each week working on a different section of their business model to where they got to this week, where they're putting it all together in a big business model plan. And it's completely hands-on. It's reverse classroom, so there's very little lecture in the classroom. Most assignments are hands-on and researching to figure out the best parts of the business model in the business today. There are a few other classes in here as well, like the boot camp with Warren and Miriam, where individuals come in with a business idea, not only faculty, staff, community members, anybody really, and we take those business ideas and we help them take it out to venture to get them ready. And I think there's some other classes in from the Gatton Honors School. Not exactly sure what they're covering, but I'm sure Patrick Walker could come along. I think one of the big questions is how were you before the pandemic and what has happened to you right now?
Yeah. So we charge a subscription for our service. You can create an account through our website. Over the course of 4 years, we grew our business to be profitable. We grew our team from the founding group to almost 20 people with offices in Louisville and Switzerland, where my CTO and co-founder is. And we have a few folks that are distributed in Austin and Seattle. And we have a global footprint. We have customers in over 118 countries that are using Switcher. So we did a lot on our own. And on $1 million in capital, we grew to somewhere between 2 and 3 million in annual recurring revenue. Since the changes in the world over the past 30, 45 days, there's been a big surge of people that are trying to figure out how to stay connected, how to communicate. And one of the main ways they're doing that is through video. We have spent a lot of time making sure that Switcher is known as a solution for how you can make these types of videos. And with our launch partner status with some of these big partners, they've also done a really good job of supporting us. And in the past 30 or 45 days, we've doubled our number of subscribers. So where it took us 4 years to get where we were, I mean, in a very short period of time, our whole world has changed. And so that's, for our company, it's been very exciting. It's been very overwhelming. We are trying to keep up. We are trying to find ways to give back. And we're trying to see how much of our game plan sticks. So like what's still the same and what is different. And I think the world will forever be changed. There are a lot of assumptions that we've made over the past few years, and as we think about go-to-market, but I think the whole timeline for how people think about online video has really shortened. And where we're looking at some opportunities long-term with brands and organizations having everyone in their company participate in making video content, that behavior didn't quite exist even just 6 months ago. It really was early adopters and innovators. And now everyone is trying to figure this out. There's a sense of urgency. And so we're trying to figure out how to not only continue to capitalize on the near-term market opportunities that we have, where we see people that were already making video or already had content, had already built out audiences that were easier for us to sell into and scale, to what are the bigger opportunities that we maybe thought were a little bit further out. And so this balance of making sure that people that are coming to our product now that are seeing it for the first time have a good experience, that they're successful, that they love it and want to stay with it long term is our number one priority as a company. We could stop adding customers today and we would be much better served to serve the people that are using our product now. But we also know that the entire landscape has completely changed. And there are a lot of other opportunities, and the companies that write the playbook for how to bring your content online, how to do remote productions, or bring your event to people that are distributed and can't all be in one place, are really going to be the winners long term. And so this is a very critical moment for us as a company, and for what it means in our ability to have a cultural impact on the world of video.
Who really were your first customer segments, and who is your biggest customer segment right now today?
Yeah, so when we started Switcher, before Switcher, one of our founders and I had a digital agency. We were helping businesses that wanted to do online video. This was circa 2012, so just a few years into YouTube being a thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people would get fired up about making video, about putting it on the internet. And they wanted it to look like TV. And to do that, you had to spend a lot of money for someone else to produce it for you, or you had to buy a lot of equipment. And if you chose to go down that path, it was really complicated, and it wasn't super intuitive. And there were a lot of different solutions on the market. And so depending on our customer and their budget and their needs, we were kind of packaging those things differently depending on who you are. So in that process, we got a lot of people that said, yeah, I want to do this. And there was a big gap between when they made that decision and when they could actually start executing on it. They'd have to move budgets around. They'd have to hire people. We started reselling video hosting. So if you didn't want it on YouTube and you didn't want ads on your videos, how do you do that? How do you get it on your website? How do you incorporate video into your own app? And that's where we really started to get a taste for recurring revenue. That annuity that wasn't just tied to our time and the hours in the day, but we had this huge lag from people saying, I want to do this, to yes, we're ready to go. So in the beginning, we were our own customer. The people that we were working with, we were trying to get them to yes sooner. And these were organizations that were already familiar with video to some extent, or really on the front end of producing video online. And so that would be community television stations, radio stations, media companies, publishers, freelancers, people that already had some familiarity with video. And ultimately, we wanted to allow people that had no experience making video to pick this up and be able to do it. And we're seeing some of that today. We really wanted to kind of rewrite the playbook for what it looks like when you go to make video. But we just had this natural gravitation from people that understood that world and were looking for something a little bit easier, a little bit more affordable. And those aren't really huge differentiators at the end of the day. Tons and tons of companies are going to say it's better and cheaper. So what's been really challenging for us is to peel that back and really understand what's at the root of the problem. Why aren't more people making video today? And where we've come with that, and in our approach, has been video really requires three different pieces. There's content. You have to have a narrative and a story. You have to have a way to produce it, to actually make it and execute on it. And you have to have an audience. There has to be a place that you're going to publish that, a way to interact with those users, a way for that video to continue to live on afterwards. And so very early on, we kind of fell in that middle bucket of production. And it was a lot harder for our customers to even imagine what they could do with Switcher unless they already had content and audience. And so that informed some of our near-term market selection. It's like by really going beyond the cost and complexity, like why aren't more people doing this content production and audience, we could understand where were the customer segments that we could sell into more quickly. And it also allowed us to look at what we're building long-term and how we can start to solve for things like content and audience. And so as an example, like one of the things we introduced last year is our own video chat feature. And so with that, by sharing a link to someone else, it becomes a lot easier to tell a story or have a conversation with another person than to do that on your own and read from a script. And in doing that, when you bring another person online, they're bringing their tribe, they're bringing their audience. You have this multiplier effect. You also have a little bit of a ripple effect in that person is now informed about Switcher. Even though they're not using the product, they see your logo, they see what's possible with the end product. And so it allows us to get more reach or awareness a lot more quickly. And there's a lot of other things within our product that we started to layer on that start to scratch at those things. But I think more importantly, it's really informed how we think about the market and who we can sell into today versus where we think the market will be in 2 or 3 years, and how we can help shape that behavior. And where those companies might not be making video today, we can kind of meet them in the middle. So when they start to ask those questions, Switcher is really top of mind.
So you mentioned some pretty big partnerships like LinkedIn and Microsoft. How did those come about?
They don't happen overnight. If anything, I think in this whole journey, the thing that has served us most well is building relationships. And as an example, the Facebook partnership. 2 years prior to that, we had started working with a technologist that had made a ton of online video. Like a lot of people referred to him as kind of like a video version of Wikipedia. He was the first person to see the iPhone and to experience Siri. He was the first person to drive in a Tesla on autopilot mode. He had so many firsts within the world of technology, and a lot of companies would seek him out to get him to share that experience because he had built this big, incredible audience. And we were very fortunate to get on his radar very early in our journey. This is when we were still bootstrapped. I went 2 years without a paycheck. That part wasn't fun, but I got to meet people like this, and they saw our product and they saw the opportunity and potential. And a few years later, I was in San Francisco for some business meetings. I reached out to this guy, and he invited me to his home. So I changed my flight so I could stay another day. And we sat for hours and talked about the future of video. Yeah. And while we were there, he opens up his computer and he messages Fiji Somo, who's the head of product at Facebook. She's one of the 7 people in the leadership team at Facebook. They haven't even shipped live video. Nobody even knew it was the thing they were working on. And we were able to be on the inside right from day one. Through that Facebook relationship, the team that they brought on board to help build out live video. Yeah. One of the engineers was later recruited by LinkedIn. And so in working with that team to make this solution possible, as LinkedIn started to build out their infrastructure, they really wanted to bring Switcher along with them as well. So there are a lot of relationships beyond that just they happen over time. Like Gabe is a co-founder. He's in Switzerland. Like, why am I working with a guy in Switzerland? He was doing cool stuff, and we found one another, and over time we built a relationship, and we put out a proof of concept for this product, and we experimented with different business models where we had a joint venture and we were doing revenue shares, and then we rolled all the IP up into one entity where we could go out to investors and get capital to help grow the company long term. And so we weren't successful from day one. I think what we're doing today is so small compared to what we can do and what's possible. And it's all very natural and organic, and I'd never had all the answers. I've surrounded myself with a lot of people with great experience and great ideas, and really relied on them to help push us and connect us and help us think bigger. Oh, you might be muted.
I did that because my dog was on hand. Patrick, I know you have a question. Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, so Nick, it's a pleasure to meet you. I teach in the Lewis Honors College, and I'm very happy to see a good number of my students on here, even though I can't see their beautiful faces. One of the things I encourage them to attend is because in my 3 courses, and 2 of them, the student teams are working with clients. One is a restaurateur. Are you here in Lexington?
We're in Louisville, Kentucky, but okay. I spent some time in Lexington.
So one is a Western African cuisine restaurateur, Saz. His wife makes the most amazing silver jewelry that I'm jealous of, and I want some.
All right.
And then in that also class, I have a young student she's an aspiring musician, and so they're looking at video content and some of the benefits. In my other class, I have a company called Black Soil LLC. They're working as a membership organization to advocate for all of the Black farmers in the state of Kentucky to collaborate and become a part of the ecosystem. That means working with everyone, but significantly increasing the number of ownership and just engagement. And then a gentleman who's almost about to retire. He is transitioning from a regular print magazine to an online digital print. So my question to you is this: with that type of diverse businesses, how do you make the point, how do you demonstrate the value added to all of them, regardless of if they're in the early phase, mid phase, or late phase of their career or in their company? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is the question.
This is storytelling. Like even, and I'm talking loud, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm excited. Even now, all these commercials I see, everybody's tapped into Corona, the car dealerships, law firms. I'm like, oh my gosh, like everybody is doing it. We're here for you, we're together. But they're also on the low telling their story. And I just think it's resilient. I think it's very creative, but I still don't think people get the value added of videos and video content. So I'm going to shut up and put myself on mute.
So a few different things. How do you communicate across lots of different customer segments? You know, I mentioned earlier, we never put this thing in a box. And so I mean, we see everything from worship services to sports to news to you know, people doing things in their daily lives, to crafting videos, to big brands using this to recruit or to show things they're doing at conferences. I mean, it is just all across the board. And very early on, we were very nerdy and we were very product focused, and we thought we had the coolest thing on the market. You know, that's not the case. There are lots of other things out there too. But it's kind of that story of like Mac versus PC, and you know, PC's in the tie and they got all the features and RAM and the things that you can do, and Apple's like, you know, we're here for normal people. And it was very approachable and it was very easy. And so we've shifted from being very product focused to like Switcher can let you do X, Y, and Z and all the cool things, to really trying to identify use case. So one way we've been able to resonate across all of these different verticals is to really focus on like what's the common theme across those. So like as an example, a lot of businesses will do blog posts. Like doing written content and taking photos and putting that on your website is something where companies have already built roles around that. And it's something that a lot of businesses do on a regular basis. We're really looking for who's going to be a long-term customer, not just sign up for 1 month because there's one opportunity to do video and it might be a year before they come back. We don't prevent that, but that's not great for scaling our business long-term because there's not a lot of predictability around when that will happen. And what that means for our revenue cycle. We'd much rather see somebody that's using this every day, every week, every month with some kind of ongoing frequency. And so like looking at businesses that are creating blog posts, well, if you're doing that already and you do that once a week or once a month, why not set up your camera? And you can talk about that content. You can bring in the photos that you'd already created to go along with that post. You could look at the social pieces that you've put out to augment that and bring it into the video that you're talking about. And while you're doing that, people online watching can ask questions, and you can build a relationship and a conversation around it, where now as you start to have a frequency for this content, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not 100% beautiful like TV quality. There's gonna be mistakes if it's live. I'm gonna say ers and ums, and I'm gonna forget what my next word was supposed to be. But it's conversational and it's story to everyone here can talk. And you talk by telling stories, and it can be really intimidating to go on camera. You know, hitting the button is the hardest part. Honestly, just like hitting go is scary. Public speaking is scary, and like asking people to do video is doing that on the world stage. So you could be intimidated that a ton of people are going to watch and you don't perform at the level that you would have liked, or you could be afraid that you go live and nobody's there. Like, how do you have a conversation or like answer your questions if there's not a conversation happening? Just doing it puts you in a position to share your story, to get more comfortable on camera, to do that on a regular ongoing basis. And if you can do that alongside things that you're already doing, like Switcher shouldn't be extra work. The idea is that you can do video, and when you're done, you can get back to work, or you can make twice as many videos because you didn't have to spend as much time in the first place. But like, how many different businesses are doing blogs? And how different and varied are they? Very, very different. But the use case, the way that they're applying our technology and the steps that they can take to be able to create video content out of something they're already doing allows us to reach a very, very broad audience, and to be very focused in how we communicate and the problem that we're solving. And there are other ones beyond that, but I think that's just a very universal thing that we see across a lot of different businesses that we're also just now trying to figure out.
So and I hope I don't take too much of your time. Is it okay to ask another question? Is it okay to ask another question?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay.
please go ahead.
Okay, so in my law class, they're studying YouTube, DoorDash, Disney, and Target. Of course, Disney's light years ahead in everything, in my opinion. But how do you compete with, say, YouTube, which I'm a big fan of, and everyone is going live? And how do you compete with, say, Instagram? How does Switcher compete with YouTube and Instagram when you see all these viral challenges? You see the Savage Challenge and all of these. To me, it's a lot of fun. How do you compete? What's the difference between, say, Switcher and what you can do versus anybody and everybody and their cousin getting on YouTube and just talking about everything under the sun? What's the difference between Switcher and, say, YouTube and Instagram?
We could never compete with YouTube. They've been around for a decade and they've got wheelbarrows of cash, and they're good at that. They published their revenues for the first time ever this year, so that's been a secret for a long time. It's the number 2 search engine. Like, aside from looking for things on Google, people look on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I think our approach has been to not look at these as competitors, but how can we augment those experiences?
Oh, good.
YouTube and Instagram are primarily distribution platforms. They're places where people go to consume content. You're going to watch a video, or you're going to see what your friends are up to on Instagram. There's a very small percentage of people that actually contribute to that content. Of all the people that are on YouTube, it's less than 1% that are actually making videos regularly. And it's an even smaller fraction of that are garnering these huge audiences. Now, the thing with YouTube is they want content. They've got all of this free content that people are giving them that they didn't have to pay a dime for. And they're starting to sponsor some shows for people that are like at that level. But ultimately, they need that content where people are building audiences so that they can do brand deals, so they can get sponsorships. So if you're getting started on YouTube and you have 100 followers or 5,000 followers or 10,000, like, until you hit a certain threshold, they're not really going to be able to monetize your content. It's that upper tier that really drives their business. But ultimately, they want more people to be in that creator class. And you ask kids in grade school today what they want to be when they grow up. They don't say like firefighters or astronauts. They want to be a YouTuber. Like, that's our world.
Scary.
Today.
It's scary, but.
And so with Switcher, when we look at this, YouTube is really focused on content distribution and getting it to as many people as possible on as many devices as possible for that viewing experience.
Mm-hmm.
They want as much video as they can get, and they want more people doing that. And so Switcher is a tool that allows you to make video, to make better video, to do it more often, to do it with hardware you already have. Same thing with Instagram. It's like Switcher is allowing you to be more creative and record content that you could later share on Instagram or any of these platforms. So we very much see ourselves as partners, as a way to augment those experiences. And because we're so focused on that creation aspect, sure, these tools are going to have ways to make videos. Instagram, they've got filters and cat ears and whatever. It's fun. It's the lowest common denominator. It allows people to go on camera and be somebody other than themselves, so that they can put content out there. But if you want to represent your personal brand or your company, you might want to do something a little more professional. And that's where Switcher really comes into play. And we're platform agnostic. We don't care where you send your content. That's up to you. So we're going to integrate with the bigger players that more people are more familiar with. And we have integrations that you can hook in with just about anything out there with a few extra steps. But we're really going to focus on building our relationship and integrating more deeply with the bigger social platforms.
So I know Warren has a question, but if anybody else would like to ask a question, if you'd like to type it into chat or if you want to come on and ask it. So Warren, go ahead, ask your question, please.
Thanks, Christine. First off, I want to welcome everybody on behalf of the Von Allman Center for Entrepreneurship. It's great to have, we have over 86 people on this webinar, which is fantastic. It really is. So Nick, again, thank you for being a part of it. My question's around a little different switch. It's around your raising of funds. My two questions are, what was the most difficult part of raising funds? And I know you're in the middle of closing a round, right in the middle of a pandemic. What challenges, specific challenges has that presented to you in your fundraising?
Yeah, so I'll preface that with we've always been very revenue focused. We charge for our product from day one. We went years without venture capital, using company resources to finance the things that we were trying to do with the business. And that's a part of our DNA, and it's something that we've tried to carry forward. If you're talking venture capital, there are a lot of companies that will hire a bunch of engineers, spend 4 years in a basement, and make a product that nobody has touched or seen like during that time. We had a product from day one that we charged for, and we were very revenue focused. And in doing that, it allowed us to get that initial $1 million in capital. We did that on a convertible note, where we raised in tranches. So we did 400,000, 400,000, 300,000 over a period of a couple of years. That kind of capped out, and on that $1 million in capital, we got to about $3 million in recognized revenue. So we're in a small class of companies that actually generate more money than they take. And in doing that, as we looked at how we scale the business and how we do something bigger long term, we really had to tell our story, and how we want to approach that. We really had to represent what we've done in the past and the changes that we've made, and how we can apply that to what we do in the future. And I think that's one of the most important pieces in seeking capital, is to say that we believe we can do X, and we made it happen. And to do that again and again and again. Relationship building is also really important. Like going into an investor meeting and asking for a big check when you've got 15 minutes to talk, like that happens. We've got TV where that happens. But in my experience, it's been building those relationships over time and informing people over time of the progress that we're making. And in doing that, you're planting seeds, and they get to see, you said, we're going to do X, and we do it. And you do that enough times, people really start to trust in your ability to execute. And when you say you're going to do something in the future that you haven't yet accomplished, they have a lot more confidence in your ability to do that. So we've missed some marks. We don't always knock it out of the park, but we've built these relationships. We've kept people informed, and we continue to execute on the things that we say we're going to do. And that's been the biggest driver in our ability to raise capital. One of the things that was really challenging for us in this process, because we're a SaaS, subscription as a service type business, it's not just about your revenue or the number of customers you have, it's how well are you able to retain those customers? Can you hold on to that value that you're building over time? And so for us, part of this was really understanding who the best customer is. And going back to that conversation around, there are a lot of different use cases for Switcher. People are using it in a lot of different ways. That means there's a lot of different behaviors in the customers that we have now. And some people might use it every single day. Some people might use it once a year. And there's a lot of people that do everything in between. And so when we talk about churn, like the number of customers that might cancel in a month, when we look at that as a top line number across our entire customer base, there's so many different signals that top line number is not where we want it to be. And it's not where we need to be able to grow big long-term value as a SaaS company. But we were able to look at our data and say, here's a customer segment that makes video every single week, and they're using it more often than others. And if we can focus on this particular customer segment going forward, we know there are this many more out there. And this is how we're going to do it. And this is how we're going to allocate those funds. And you start to tell a lot different story, but it's kind of peeling back that onion. And especially with a software subscription-based business, not just getting people that will open their checkbook and pay for your product, but people that will pay for your product month over month, and not just pay for it, but use it. And that's been one of the challenges for us, because we want everyone to have access to what we're building. We really want to democratize this process, but we're not an Instagram, we're not a Snapchat. This isn't a freemium service. We don't have millions of customers where we can like throw ads at it. We're relying on customers to fund the work that we're doing, so we can improve the product, so that we can market, so that we can grow the team, so that we can support it. And in doing that, it's really important that we get the right long-term customer. And so working through those conversations, making sure that we had the data, being able to visualize it, and being able to execute on that has been one of the biggest drivers for our ability to wrap up this round that we're doing currently.
What are you most looking forward to adding or changing or pivoting with Switcher in the next few months?
Oh gosh, there's been little fires everywhere, but it's been a good problem for us. I'm really trying to take a step back so I can get in the right headspace to look a little bit further out. One customer segment where we saw a lot of regular ongoing use for video was churches. And even before all of this happened, several months we were marketing for that particular segment because we had data to support that they would be good long-term customers. Every Sunday, why not set up a camera? Or if they're reading a Bible verse or whatever that is, events in the community, connecting with the elderly. There's a lot of different content opportunities. And so we had this weird phenomenon where we had been marketing to this segment because we had data to support that for months. And when all of this happened, oddly enough, that was one of the first groups to really embrace live video and to make the jump to look for a solution. And we have ads where people have commented on it. It's like, glad I've been seeing these ads for 2 months. I knew exactly what I was going to do. There's a ton of other use cases and opportunities out there. And so we're trying to balance and diversify that. We're trying to look at the things we wanted to do, maybe 18 or 24 months out and how we can accomplish those in the next 3 to 6 months. Everything has changed. And I think this has really rewired people's brains and how they think about content. And not just for video, I think it's changed consumer behavior, period. I mean, we're seeing my 80-year-old grandparents using Zoom and 5-year-old kids, they're getting on Zoom for calls with their class. Like, Zoom was not a household name until a few months ago. They performed very well as a private company and when they went public. But now it's something that is just in the known. Things like HelloFresh and these food delivery services. There are people and demographics that never would have considered that service before, and they're relying on it almost entirely now, week to week. And I think even when we get on the other side of this, that behavior is not going to go away. If it's a month or two, the adoption will be one thing. If it's longer than that, it's more likely to stick. But what is our new normal? I don't think anybody knows. And I think there are certain behaviors that people are taking now that these brands and agencies and businesses are just like watering at the mouth about and trying to understand how people are spending their dollars, how they're making decisions, and how that informs what they do next. And nobody has the answer. It's all going to be their best guess, but I don't think the world will ever be the same. And I would argue that everyone will probably continue to use Zoom in some way. It's not just a business tool anymore. Everybody will continue to use food delivery services, and who knows what else is out there that I've missed. But those are two that are very top of mind right now.
Do any of the students have a question for Nick?
I have a question. I'm not a student. My name is Daniel. I'm a research associate at the Institute for Study of Free Enterprise. And my question is actually about the product itself. I was looking yesterday, just by chance, at simulcasting, right, to different platforms. Yeah. And obviously, this is a lot of what you do. So I was wondering, you were saying that you could pair it with platforms other than Facebook as well. So what platforms do you work with? Like Instagram too? I'm not sure.
We have a Facebook easy button, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Microsoft Stream, and then we support open standards that work with hundreds of other platforms. Instagram is a little unique in that it's very much a walled garden. You can only create and consume with the Instagram app. There are no third-party integrations for sending video directly to Instagram. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't record videos with Switcher and then upload it to something like Instagram. We do not currently support the simulcasting service, but Switcher integrates with other solutions that allow you to do that. So you could use Switcher alongside something like Caster or Restream or Switchboard or these other businesses that have built tools around managing all of those integrations and being able to stream to all of them at the same time. Our philosophy has really been, if you're going to create content, experiment with different platforms and find the one that makes the most sense for you or your business, and use the other platforms to direct people toward that. That in keeping the conversation in one place and building consistency on that one platform, that you're going to have better long-term success. If you're small and you're getting started and you're putting your videos everywhere and it's the same videos everywhere, you're really fragmenting that experience. Conversations are happening in different places. And not to say that there isn't value in that, but I think the most value for something like simulcasting comes with these really big brands that have been developing their social channels for years and have millions of followers across Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. And it's something where they really do need to be everywhere. But we are seeing things like churches that are wanting to simulcast to Facebook and YouTube. And some of the reasons that are motivating them to do that is that, just Facebook is something a lot of people spend time on always. But if you don't have a Facebook account, you haven't been able to watch those videos in the past. So if there's someone elderly in your community that's not on Facebook, or other people that just don't want to be on that platform, putting on YouTube is much more accessible. They also have really good casting options. So if you want to put that on your screen or your TV in your home, you can take it from your phone or your computer to the big screen. And so we're starting to pick up some of these signals. It's something that we are considering, and we'll kind of figure out what that means for us. But in the near term, that is something that's possible. And you can do that by using Switcher with other solutions that allow that simulcasting aspect.
So another student asked, did you have to adjust your service costs due to the crisis? So did you change your pricing strategy?
No, we did not change our pricing. We've experimented with lots of different price points over the years. I still don't know that it's where it's going to be forever. That's something that I think we in some ways want to educate our customers that our price will change. But also as the product evolves, and as we look at ways to continue to support that, we'll need to package it differently anyways. One thing that we have done is a promotional pricing for nonprofits. So registered nonprofits like edu.gov, .org organizations, you can go to switcherstudio.com/nonprofit. You can submit an application and we'll do a discount on the first 3 months. That could be something that we extend further, but that was something where we knew that it was going to be at least some period of time where people were really impacted by this, and we could get them onboarded very quickly in that way.
You mentioned earlier that you're working on trying to give back. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, so one of those is the nonprofit discount. We offered that globally for anyone in the world that's using Switcher. We're looking for ways to give back in our hometown. We're here in Louisville, and we're doing a promo for small businesses, nonprofits, and news and media organizations where they can use Switcher for 3 months on us. We're working with Facebook and LinkedIn and some of our partners to sponsor accounts for some of the groups that they're working closely with. We're aligning with nonprofits that are doing fundraisers and helping them use Switcher to raise funds for these different causes. And we're also considering kind of a give back, in that when you subscribe to Switcher, a percentage of that would go toward some charities that are helping people with what's happening right now.
Excellent. Another student asked, a point that you brought up, whoops, my message just moved. A point that you brought up was about how creators or firms need to make content that brings people to their services or products to solve problems. This is an idea I've heard about with inbound marketing. What are your thoughts on inbound, if you have heard of it or not?
Yeah, so almost all of our revenue is driven through inbound marketing. People can create an account on our website. There's a 14-day trial, and then they pay through the website. We're not doing a ton of outbound sales. We don't have a huge call center where we're picking up the phone and trying to get people signed up for Switcher. We really rely on our content strategy, and that's looking at things like what are people searching for and struggling with that don't have anything to do with Switcher necessarily, but where Switcher could be a part of the solution. So things like, how do I use a microphone with my iPhone? And there's lots of really basic things that are applicable very broadly. And so that's something that we've been very cautious of and thoughtful of from day one. We've built an incredible mailing list. The number of people that have considered Switcher or tried it is just astronomical. And so being able to do nurturing campaigns and continue to stay connected with those people while also being respectful of their data and not flooding their inbox has been something we definitely have had to balance. Looking at the Facebook and Google duopoly and how we invest in those channels and what other ones that we want to try. I think inbound marketing is a very black box solution. Like, depending on your business and your customers and your strategy, there's not really a one size fits all. And it's something where you really have to iterate. The things that you did last month might not work this month. And so just always measuring and testing and improving is really, really important. One comment I would make, this has been very much a surprise, but the investments that we are making on digital paid advertising, like promoting posts on Facebook or on Google, right now, the cost per click on Facebook is half or maybe even a third of what it was just months ago. So many businesses have had to pause their budgets or stop investing in that type of content, that there's not a lot of inventory. And it's a lot easier to spend dollars and reach your audience right now, at least in the near term, on platforms like Facebook. But on the reverse side of that, we've seen things like influencer marketing, where creators are doubling their rates. They're either, and there's this weird juxtaposition where some are getting so many requests that they've doubled their rates to kind of weed people out, and they're working with fewer and charging more. And then there's others that have had less interest, and so they're doubling their rates to try to make up for the drop. And so the result has been kind of a net negative. It's the same as that it just costs more, but it's for two very different reasons.
Right.
And so just with inbound marketing in general, things change always, and the things that we see today could be wildly different in just a few months from now.
This kind of goes along with what you were just speaking about. Are you worried about your customer base growing too dramatically right now, and then they drop off once all this passes?
That is something that we've been very, we're talking a lot about that as a company. There's a very urgent need right now, and not everyone that's signing up for Switcher is necessarily going to be around for the long term. Like one example, one of the segments where we're seeing a lot of content being created is art, the performing arts and music. You can't have a concert right now. Getting a lot of people in a physical space is hard, or not allowed in a lot of cases. And so musicians and artists and playwrights and theater are taking this content online. A lot of those customers probably wouldn't be able to justify paying for Switcher at other times. And I think they would much rather perform in public than to do things online. And so while we're seeing kind of a surge in that particular format right now, our question is that the right long-term customer? Is that a segment that we want to invest in and try to get more of, with our ad dollars, with the content that we write? And right now, I don't know the answer, but those are the types of conversations that we're having. And so we're really trying to get good data on the types of customers coming in, the types of video that are being created, and which ones that we really want to focus on as we look ahead. Microphone, I think, muted again.
Thank you. Any other students have questions they want to ask right now? Okay, Miriam, I know you have something you'd like to talk about. Did I miss her?
Thanks, Christine. Yeah, how are you? Thanks, everybody. My name is Miriam Gorgian. I am a New Ventures Manager in the Von Allman Center for Entrepreneurship within the Gatton College of Business. We are really, really happy to have so many people on the call today. And thanks again, Nick. Very, very cool product and insight into Switcher Studio. We really appreciate your time. we are doing a drawing for all the participants that popped into the webinar today to Crank and Boom. I don't know if some of you have been following Crank and Boom on social media. They've done a really awesome job of marketing some of their new products. Some of you might have seen the new Virginia S'more that came out in the candy brochure. We actually decided to do e-gift cards before they launched this new marketing campaign. So they're really trying to do more for their business. Of course, they're local here in Lexington, and we thought that would be kind of a cool way to support local business. They do have drive-through for those of you who are worried about any kind of sickness or with the social distancing. So they've been really great, and we're going to do a drawing today. We picked 5 random people that we would select to receive these e-gift cards. The 5 people that we selected will be getting emails from us. And without further ado, I'm going to call on the first person that we've selected, Kelsey Drury. Hopefully she's still on the call. David Hassler, Luke Florence, Ning Wei, Katarina and Chris, and I believe that's 5. We've got the 5 there. So congratulations to those 5 people. We will be emailing you your e-gift card certificate, and you have the ability to go through their drive-through service and get some ice cream.
Thanks, Miriam.
I think what's going to happen, they'll actually get a direct email from Crank and Boom once it's ordered.
Perfect.
So, Nick, before we say bye, if anybody wants to try out Switcher Studio, what do they need to do?
Yeah, so you can go to switcherstudio.com and create an account from there. There's a 14-day trial that's included, no credit card required. But also I'll follow up with those that helped coordinated this, and we can put together some instructions where you all can try that a little bit longer. We'll do like a 3 months of Switcher on us. So anybody that wants to give that a shot, we'll be passing along some details so that you all can have it unlocked and take it for a spin.
That's great. Any further questions before we go today? I'm just going to give you one more chance.
I do have a screen share set up here. I don't know if you all can see that.
Yes, we can.
Great. So I'll just show a few things with Switcher very quickly. This top part of the screen is the video that would be recorded or shared out for your audience. So you could have your built-in camera. You could do things like put your logo on screen. You can move these around and resize them as well. So if we wanted that in the center of the screen. We have titles and effects built in, so you can bring those up to show who's speaking or to have a call to action, full screen graphics, and we can do multi-view effects. So if we wanted to do something where we had an image up and video in the corner, like a picture-in-picture. There's this series of tabs or buttons across the bottom where you can do fun things like scoreboards, video chat where you can call in a guest. So you all can play with those. There's things where you can do polling on Facebook. If you want to ask a question to your audience, then they can actually tap on the video player to respond to those and get the results back to you. If people are commenting on your Facebook video, you can actually see those comments in the app. You can kind of feature the best ones and you can show those on screen. So when you find an appropriate time or break where you want to speak to those, you can see the name of that person, you can see their photo, the question that they asked. So lots of different options down here in this little bar. Works on iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch. And there's also a screen sharing feature. So you could bring in your desktop or another iPhone or iPad. So all this is available on our website. You can learn more there. We have a great help center where most questions we have ever been asked are documented. We also have a really great user community and online group where people that are using the product are sharing videos, asking questions, and helping one another. And we offer email support as well. And so actually, when you asked the question earlier, like, what are we doing right now, especially with this big influx of customers? Like I mentioned earlier, we really want to make sure people love the product and have a good experience. And that means doubling down on having quick response times and making things more discoverable and helping people. And so that's one area of our business where we are investing, and we are moving a lot more quickly.
This is great. Thank you so much, Nick, for your time today. And I really appreciate everything you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll follow up on the details for that email so you all can get it out.
I will.
And if you all have any questions, connect with me on LinkedIn. That's a good place to sync up. It's just Nick Mattingly, and you can hit me in the inbox there.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for attending today, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, Nick.
Thanks. Take care.